Okay, hello everyone. We want you to start gathering and, Kim Blake is going to be up here in a minute, welcoming you all. Thank you for coming. Everyone at the tables, we're gonna begin our event.
Hi, thank you everybody. I'm Kim Blake. I'm the team sharing ambassador for Vermont. So Ed and I have organized this event. We're going on our fourth year, and it's so meaningful to our team sharing parents to see the support of the community. You know, losing your child to addiction is a challenge. We're often suffering in silence through our children's illness. There isn't the support in the community that we often have with other diseases. And I know most of us feel like we haven't had the community support sometimes when our child has been suffering. I know my son Sean, who's over there, was hospitalized over 13 times before he passed away. And it wasn't something that I could really share about, especially with my work in the community. It was really difficult. After he passed, though, I did really feel the love and support of the community that I think if people had known how much I was suffering, they would have been there for me, but it was hard for me to let them. One of the things that's been really difficult this year is the grief that our parents are still suffering. We've lost 3 parents this year, 2 to cancer. I did a little reading statistics and found that the mortality for parents is 2.3 times what it is for people in age-matched controls. And the mortality, particularly for mothers, is 30% higher, moms who've lost a child to all causes. So I really welcome everyone here today and appreciate your support so much. It really means the world to us. A lot of our parents are watching from home because it's actually too painful for them to come to the event. So seeing your faces here really means so much. I'd like to thank our tables. We have Howard Center, Where Recovery. Howard has brought their mobile van, so take a look at that. We have the Pride Center, Vermont Cares, Vermonters from Criminal Justice Reform, and Ben & Jerry's is supporting us again. We really appreciate the sweet comfort that they offer us today on a difficult event. So thanks so much for coming. I'm going to turn it over to Ed.
Hey, welcome everyone. I want to repeat what Kim has said. I want to welcome everyone to this great event. This is a gathering of the hearts. Everyone here has one heart. We all have the same thing in mind. We want to help people to reduce use, reduce harm, find help, find love, find a way in life, survive, thrive. That's what this is about. I want to thank Kimberly Blake. I want to thank Team Sharing Vermont. Kimberly has organized a group of parents and loved ones who have lost family members, lost loving ones, lost loved ones, lost lovely ones to substance use passing. We mean something to them. The fact that we come out and we choose to be here and share their loss, share their grief, be in this with them means everything to them. They are no longer alone. And their gift to us is we are no longer alone. Because we share in that grief, we share in that loss, we share in that deep desire to do something about it. What can we do about it? We've been restricted by our systems. We've been prevented from doing as much as we can about this. This gathering here is a place for us to join, unite, motivate, commit, and persevere to do something about this. With that, I'm going to ask you I'm going to ask all of you, and particularly the tables in the back of the tables in the back, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask everyone for a moment of reverent silence. I'd like to have a moment of reverent silence for those taken from us by substance use passing. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you for that. Now, I cannot think of a better way to transition out of our reverent moment of silence than the loving voice of Reverend Karen G. Johnston's heart. Reverend Karen G. Johnston is the senior minister of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington. The meeting house at the top of Church Street, the grand meeting house with the beautiful steps, the beautiful doors, the beautiful steeple, the beautiful park, the beautiful welcoming to people, all people of Burlington. A Unitarian Universalist and a Buddhist, Reverend Johnston's family has been strongly shaped by drug addiction through the loss of her dear uncle. Reverend Johnston shares ministry with 400 plus congregants, and I'm happy and proud and grateful to be able to tell you that my lovely wife Ellen and I are two of those congregants. She shares her ministry also with a skillful, heart-centered staff, all of whom strive to place love at the center of everything they do. First UU, as they are known, cares deeply about Burlington and has cared deeply about Burlington for the past 215 years. I give you Reverend Karen.
I want to express gratitude that this gathering exists, and thank you for the honor of being invited to bring words from my congregation, from the Board of Trustees of First Unitarian Universalist Society Burlington, who have made this public statement declaring that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion, and following our congregation's visionary end to use for a greater good our power as a faith community in Burlington, and living into our mission to care for each other and our community, we, the Board of the First Unitarian Universalist Society Burlington, enthusiastically endorse the establishment of an overdose prevention center in Burlington, Vermont, and urge those responsible to make haste in doing so. The establishment of an overdose prevention center is an asset to our home, our neighbors, ourselves, and our shared community. The establishment of such an asset aligns with our core values as Unitarian Universalists, declaring that we are all sacred beings regardless of our relationship with addiction and recovery. The provision of this kind of intervention is medically sound and evidence-based and is a form of beneficial adaptation to a changing world. And the access to safety, treatment, and recovery that an overdose prevention center offers affirms the interdependent nature of all of our existence that the health of our community is strengthened by the presence of such an institution in our midst. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Reverend Karen G. Johnston. Thank you, Universalist Unitarian Society of Burlington. Now, I'm kind of tempted to say to everyone, this is the moment you've been waiting for. But I'm going to refrain from that because I know you well, and you haven't been waiting for anything. The last thing you've been doing is waiting. You've been working. You've been tirelessly thinking every day, all day, what can I do about this? My neighbors are dying. You've slept over it. You've become advocates about it. You've become activists about it. You've become lobbyists about it. You've elected officials into office that share your feelings and share your hope, share your love for your brothers and sisters. You haven't been waiting. You've been working, and I thank you for your work. I thank you for your heart. Now, I'm going to introduce Kate O'Neill. In 2018, Kate O'Neill's sister died while incarcerated, and this was after using substances for more than 10 years, having substance use disorder for 10 years. In the years since, Kate has devoted herself to researching harm reduction and writing. Harm reduction is a practice that she believes could have saved her sister's life. She recently began working with Vermonters for criminal justice reform. VCJR, which will be known as the Downtown Health Project, will be opening Vermont's first overdose prevention center right here in Burlington. I give you Kate O'Neill.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you to Kim for bringing us together every year at this beautiful event. It's an honor to be here today, but the truth is that I wish I were not here, that none of us were here. It's never a good sign when I get choked up on the second sentence, but hopefully. The truth is, I wish I weren't here because the only reason I'm standing here is that my youngest sister, Maddie, is dead. And I would give anything for her to still be alive. Many of us are here today because someone we love died an unnecessary and preventable death. We are here to remind the world that our beloveds are more than just statistics. They are siblings, children, spouses, co-workers, neighbors, best friends. We gather today in grief, we gather in love, and we gather in anger that people are still dying. My sister Maddie was whip smart and hilariously funny. She was madly in love with her son, who adored his mama in return. Her voice, when she sang, was like clear lake water you wanted to both dive into and float on, buoyed by the sound. She took walks on the bike path. Her favorite show was Family Guy. She could talk to literally everyone. Like 50,000 other Vermonters, she also struggled from a chronic, relapsing, and sometimes fatal medical condition called substance use disorder. For more than a decade, I watched as Maddie sought treatment again and again and again. She went to every single inpatient rehab in the state, multiple times. She did intensive outpatient at the Howard Center. She was a patient at the Chittenden Clinic. She went to NA and NA, where she was told that if she still used drugs, it was because she hadn't hit rock bottom. At the time, I believed this too. I believed that my sister continued to use drugs, not because the treatment she accessed was ineffective or because the expectation that she be completely abstinent was unreasonable, but because she hadn't hit bottom. In hindsight, the idea that a medical condition can be healed through suffering is absurd. But I believed it because our whole culture believes it. We have built entire systems on the belief that suffering and punishment are the best response to addiction. My sister hit rock bottom on the floor of a jail cell where she begged for help, saying her chest hurt and she couldn't breathe. When she was too sick to talk, the women she was incarcerated with asked for help on her behalf. But they were refused by correctional officers who thought Maddie's symptoms were the result of withdrawing from drugs. This is what you do to yourself, one CO told them. This is what happens when you use drugs. By the time Maddie was brought to the hospital, it was too late to stop the treatable infection that killed her. In the years since Maddie died, many people have talked to me about her energy and light, how she lit up every room she entered. So it's no surprise that Maddie illuminated a path through the darkness of her own death. After Maddie died, the obituary I wrote for her went viral, and I learned things about substance use disorder I would give anything to have known when she was alive. The most important thing I have learned, the thing I believe would have saved Maddie's life, is harm reduction. I think we all know at this point what harm reduction is, but I'm embarrassed to say I'd never heard the term when my sister was alive. I'd also never heard of overdose prevention centers, places where people can use drugs under medical supervision, and one of the most powerful harm reduction tools we have. If I had heard of them, I probably would have assumed they encouraged drug use. The opposite is true. Overdose prevention centers save lives, and people who access them actually reduce their drug use. OPCs also provide wound care, compassion, connections to housing, and to treatment if and when people want it. They reduce disease, public drug use, and crime. They save taxpayers money, and they make our communities healthier and safer for everyone. Which is why I'm so honored to be part of the team at Vermonters for Criminal Justice Reform, opening the state's first overdose prevention center. Between them, Tom Dalton, Jess Kirby, and Sarah Ashley Simmons, my new colleagues, have decades of experience advocating for evidence-based care for people who use drugs. They championed harm reduction instead of hitting bottom long before harm reduction was recognized as essential and life-saving. And now they're working with the city of Burlington to bring an OPC to Vermont. VCGR has a table here, and I hope you'll stop by and say hello. That you'll introduce yourself, ask questions, offer feedback, because this OPC is something we want to build together with transparency and in community for the benefit of everyone. That's why we're here today, not only to remember, but to act, not only to grieve, but to help prevent any more unnecessary deaths. If we want people to stop dying on their way to hitting bottom, we all need to extend our hands to help catch them. Thank you so much for having me, and I want to introduce my colleague, Jess, who's going to say a few more words.
need short people help? Do I just pull it down, or how does it go? Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jess Kirby. I'm the Director of Client Services at Vermonters for Criminal Justice Reform, or VCJR. Okay.
Stay very close.
Okay. I'm also, and probably more importantly to say today, a person with lived experience with opioid use disorder, stimulant use disorder, homelessness, and am very lucky to be here today. Thank you all for being here and holding time to honor all those that we've lost to overdose and other drug-related harms. I really want to take some time today to share something instead of from myself, from someone who's really struggling today, and asked me to share something with all of you and couldn't be here. And I just wanted to share those words with you today. He's currently experiencing homelessness and struggling with opioid use and stimulant use. He says, "Please remember that when people are out there using drugs, it's between stints in rehab and jail and a million horrible things every day. But we're working our way back. We're still a work in progress, and people like me are far, far from where we need and where we want to be. Sometimes we falter, we make the wrong choices, and we definitely say the wrong things. We might say we never want to stop using, we don't want treatment, and that we just don't care anymore and we give up. That is never true for me, even when I say it. And I don't know many people that is true for. The truth is, it's very, very hard to be in this situation, and we really just get beat down. Each time we fail, we are beat down a little more, and it's harder to get back up. It's the hardest thing in the world to do everything, to put everything you have into something time and time again. Try your absolute hardest and be so full of hope, and in the end, you get kicked out because you screwed up once, had a slip and used, or just didn't say the right thing. There are strict rules in rehabs and in treatment, and it's hard to follow things perfectly. We need time to adjust to living completely differently, and how to learn to make better choices. But what we really need is another chance. Giving up on people and closing doors to them not only erases all the progress that we've just made, but it makes us 10 times worse. It makes things harder. It makes people more alone, more depressed. It makes it that much harder to try again. It takes time, and it takes everything in us to work up the strength to try again. Out of all the people I know that are really struggling, the people that are really in it have been struggling for a long time. Every one of them has been to rehab 10 times or more. We've had counselors and groups and been to AA and NA meetings. We've been on methadone and bupe, maybe we are now, and we're always making plans to try again. This means that we are trying. We haven't given up, even when it looks like it on the outside, so please don't give up on us either. The last thing I want to say is that as a person that uses drugs but does want to stop, we need this safe site or this OPC. I've used outside, I've overdosed outside, I've overdosed alone. I am so ashamed of that. But I would do differently, and I know a lot of other people that would too if we have options like this OPC. That's where you'll meet the people that are going to help you get the strength to try again, stay with you in the thick of it, and make sure you stay alive to have that chance. And so I really just wanted to share that with you today. I thought it was more important than anything else I would say. But I thank you all so much for being here, and really excited to keep working forward to make this a reality for people in Burlington. Thanks. I don't know who's next.
All right, we'd like to take a short break and have everybody gather around at the different tables. So the Howard Center has brought their mobile van, and I really invite people to take a look at their services. We have Ware Recovery. Ben & Jerry's is serving ice cream. We have Vermonters for Criminal Justice Reform, Vermont Cares, and the Pride Center. So take a few moments and meet some of our kind participants and learn a little bit about what they're doing. We'll reconvene in a few minutes, and we have some speakers with lived experience. and AIDS Project of Southern Vermont is here. There they are.
Have fun, folks. Have some Ben and Jerry's. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. Gather round, folks. I'm very excited to introduce our first speaker. So, Mike and Debbie have been just absolute incredible supports getting this event organized. I can't tell you how much help and support they provided, emotionally as well as physically. And I just really appreciate it. And I'd like to introduce Mike, who's going to talk about his son, Dan.
Thanks, Kim. As Kim said, my name is Mike Henry, and it's one of a few folks to come up here. And just the whole objective here is to put a personal face on all these folks we've lost, and of course, having a few stories from some of us is also it helps meet that objective. So my wife Debbie and I live in Underhill. Have for about 40 years now. We raised two boys up there. And they went through the Chittenden East school system and on to Mount Mansfield Union High School. And Dan, the one we're here to talk about, the one we lost to opioid use in 2016, Dan went to his mom's alma mater, Johnson State College. And, he was out there on his way, making his way in the world, and everything was doing reasonably well. No major upsets. He was fairly athletic. He was heavily into weightlifting and bodybuilding and taekwondo. He was a big snowboarder and very active kind of guy. And he suffered an injury, of course. And as so many of these stories began, had a prescription medication prescribed to him that at the time, as we all know, the medical community had been very badly misled about these pain medications at that time, and that's how many of these stories began. And Dan was one of those. Anyway, Dan died on October 4th, 2016. And it was the fentanyl, the toxicology report said it was fentanyl that killed him, which was, I think, somewhat early in the fentanyl story, but it's become much more common since then. And so obviously there were many years of struggle in between when he first was prescribed a medication, and he ultimately died from the fentanyl overdose. And one of the things that we thought to kind of change us up a little bit was, after somebody like this is gone, been gone for several years now. It's easy to look back and what do you miss about this guy? And he was a big, gregarious guy. He was 250 plus pound, mostly muscle kind of guy at the gym. And I remember I'd meet him at the gym once in a while. Obviously, that's not me. I pick up what I can pick up, but I don't hurt myself in the gym. and I would occasionally go to the gym and meet Dan. And there were a couple of occasions after Dan had died where I'd all of a sudden catch the profile of some big bald-headed dude with shoulders that wide. And for that nanosecond, you think, oh, geez, no, Dan's gone. It's not him, And Debbie, I asked her what, she had to think about there. She still tries to avoid giving it too much thought because it's too painful for her to think about, those things. But she did acknowledge that she misses, somebody who really appreciates your chocolate chip cookies, those little things, And I also miss. He was a pretty bright guy, pretty well read and knowledgeable, and pretty objective. And he and I had many discussions about world events and political events and life in general, And of course, I have one less source for those discussions. So let's see. One thing I thought about when I was going through trying to come up with a few bullets for this discussion is what we don't miss, and when you lose somebody like that, most of us have been through similar scenarios, and all the uncertainty and the struggle in the years prior to that person losing that battle, you certainly don't miss that uncertainty. The certainty of someone being gone and not coming back is not pleasant and not easy to absorb, but in some ways it's easier to deal with day to day than the uncertainty that you dealt with for all those years when you simply didn't know where this person was, what they were up to, or what their status was. So that's kind of my closure, and I know Kim has a couple of other folks lined up willing to come up here, so I will turn the mic over to her. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like to introduce Dawn Tatro, who's going to speak about her loss. Her beautiful daughter, Jenna, is here, and Dawn is a great member of Team Sharing and speaks openly about her struggles with grief and how hard it's been. And she's got her with her.
I don't want to block anyone, but
That's okay.
I wanted to bring her up here.
It's nice to be able to see her when you speak.
Yes. It's so funny when you hear people speak, and so many of them have the same stories. And like Kate was saying with Maddie, she lit up a room. Jenna would light up a room. She could just walk in a room and everybody would know she was there. They had these gifts, these incredible gifts, and we miss them so. And it's been almost 6 years for Jenna, and I can't believe it. It's just unbelievable that I lost my beautiful daughter to a prescription given to her at the ER for not one broken bone. And at first I was angry. And I just didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to be really angry and blame everybody. But me and my husband decided to get up and fight. We knew the gaps. We knew what needed to be done. And what was being done wasn't enough. And we had to make change. And by building Jenna's promise, we wanted to give people a purpose in life. give them a skill, give them a job, give them trauma treatment, give them housing, and just that whole wraparound service. And lo and behold, it worked. And to see people when they can just have a purpose again and to start believing in themselves. And I know we look at all these people that we lost, and it makes you really sad. But there is a lot of hope out there, and there's a lot of people that are getting better. And I think all of us make a difference. Just believing in somebody that's going through it, and just helping them get to where they need to get, because it's almost impossible when you're in that dark hole to see any light. And I remember it would be like Jenna is in this dark corner, and she just can't get out of that dark corner. And I tried so hard to save her. I couldn't save her. She had to save herself. But also, we were so limited on options in the state. And, we have to make change. We have to do something different, because what we're doing hasn't been working. And we can say that, we're losing less people with overdose. But are we really losing less people? Because we're losing people to blood diseases, heart attacks, wounds, and car accidents. There's so many people that are dying because of drugs, not directly resulted to overdose now. And we're not ever capturing those numbers. And it's really sad that they just go for a health condition. And I have a girl that I was working with, and she smokes crack, put xylazine in it. And so she goes to the doctor, and he's like, "You have this huge abscess on your lungs." And he's like, "How would you get a huge abscess on your lungs?" Well, if you know what that drug does. And so she's really not, she's just hanging in there. And, we have to look at all the medical conditions that this does create. And when you see someone, say hi. And because just a little bit of self-esteem for them might give them the opportunity to ask for help. And you guys all make a difference every day. You're out there, and we are saving lives, even though we're looking at all these poor, but we remember them, and they would want us to be doing this so we could help others. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
I had a very wise treatment provider one time tell me the best advice he could give was to me as a mom. He said, just don't ever give up. He said, don't ever let your child think that you've given up. And honestly, I've worked in addiction medicine, and I had countless stories that I wish you would all know of people who have recovered and who are living lives today, and you would never have any idea that they'd had struggles. So with somebody next to speak, I'm really proud of Dakota. And we change the speakers every year, except for we always have to have Dakota come because he gives us so much joy. So help me welcome him.
Hi everyone, I'm Dakota. I am the head of the drug checking program at the AIDS Project way down in Windham County. It's really nice to, am I talking too low again?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of microphones. I always...
Just keep your face close to it. Speak a little louder.
Right there?
Yeah.
All right. Where was I? Yeah, it's nice to really be able to come to something where we really get to focus on people as, you know, individuals. We have a tendency to doing all this work and being out to look at things in this really broad, overarching way of how things affect people as systems. So I really wanted to highlight a couple of things that, you know, a couple of direct things with individual people that have come out of these past couple of years of drug checking and all of the things that I've been doing that have been related to it. You know, because people, you know, sometimes it's really hard to see the effects of all the things like this, but there's a lot of them. I have one particular person who, you know, prior to starting to come see me was someone who was on the safety and EMS's list almost every single week for an overdose call or something similar, but they habitually overdose. Coming to me, and this isn't the only person, there's been several people that have had the same, if not similar, outcomes, coming to me and starting to get their supply tested regularly where they can have more control, know what's going on a little bit closer in an unregulated market. You know, this person has now dropped off of that list because with the knowledge that they've gotten, the information they've been able to gain, they're able to make a more educated decision on whether or not they were going to go to a specific person or do a specific product. And at the same time, those people are now linked in with so many other services that were all at the same place. So, you know, it's a really low barrier way to get people foot in the door and then also hit them with, hey, have you thought about this? Did you know about this? You know, and a lot of people have really started jumping further down the path to what their picture of recovery is. And it's a beautiful thing to see. We've also had situations where, you know, in the way the rest of our world works, in a regulated market, if the customers don't like what they have, whether it's soup or watches or whatever, they don't go and get it. And we've had situations where people were selling very volatile, nasty mixes of things. People brought them for testing, got the word out that X, Y, and Z stuff was bad, blah, 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 blah. No one would go to that person anymore, and they were forced to get rid of it, get something that was less harmful, and come back if they were going to want any business. So people got a little bit more control through this also. And you know, it's been really great to see how the information also spreads out between people. It's as easy as, you know, telling one person that what they got tested is X, Y, and Z, this, and that, and is, say, it's stamped with a Coca-Cola mark. Now they go out and tell everybody else that, hey, those Coca-Cola ones were all aspirin, they're gonna get you sick. And you get less people. People now know what it is, so they can choose whether or not that's what they want, and they can mitigate the amount of harm that is gonna befall them. Because, as we all know, you can't get clean, you can't recover if you're dead. So, you know, I guess that's the whole goal of this, is just keeping people going until they can get that whatever spark it is to take them down their own path. Thank you.
Thank you, Dakota. I really appreciate that idea. All the good work that you do and teaching people about the substances they're using so that they can make educated decisions. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. The weather once again has held. So visit the tables, enjoy speaking with each other. And Ed, did you have anything else to add? Okay, just a moment.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I just basically want to echo some of Kim's sentiment about what it means to us for you to be here and what it means to you to be here. It's just beautiful. I want to just end by saying, you know, I believe everything is preparation and every moment is a point of no return. And I think tonight is a good example of that. That we have been prepared over years, months, decades for tonight. You know, we've pushed forward and we've succeeded in reaching this moment tonight. And it is the point of no return. But we haven't gotten where we want to get yet. We need to prepare ourselves. We need to accept that there will be an uphill fight to cut that ribbon and get those doors open of the Downtown Health Project. And it will depend on all of us to find within us the strength. And you have people like Dawn, people like Kim, people like Mike, who, like the alchemists in folklore, found the secret of changing lead to gold. The secret is love. That's what they have. We have to have that. We have to persevere with that. We have to grab onto that, hold on to that, and not let it go, not let each other go, and not let our loved ones go. So thank you for being here this evening.